space again. All right. So, this probably won't come as a surprise to you, but when we do that at XPRIZE staff meetings, every single one of us raises our hands. And you can go just press F5 to get started. We here at the XPRIZE Foundation are absolutely fundamentally big believers in the idea that affordable, repeatable access to space is an enormous social good. It allows a huge amount of scientific development, and it's also going to be a hell of a lot of fun. And I want to go, I don't want to go once, I want to go a number of times. We got our start with the Ansari XPRIZE. This was the $10 million prize for the first privately funded company to put 3 people into space on a suborbital trajectory 2 times in 2 weeks. When we offered this up in 1996, that was a silly idea. Everyone knew it could never happen. And they were all wrong. I will admit I was one of those people. I was a skeptic at first. Thankfully, these guys proved us wrong. That is Spaceship One. That is the vehicle that claimed the prize. I know several of you in the audience were there when this vehicle flew 3 times over the course of 2004. And this was a really, really, really big deal. This was headline, front page, above the fold news in every country in the world. You see 5 billion media impressions, second biggest news story of the year 2004. Totally changed everyone's minds. People love NASA, but they want to go themselves, and it wasn't a possibility. Now, all of a sudden, it is. The most important thing, again, is this is continuing a revolution. They didn't just win that prize and hang up the cleats and say, well, that was fun. They're building new vehicles like Spaceship Two. We have another number of other companies that are building similar vehicles. It's going to be great. You may have guessed from the other presentations, we are an ambitious company, though. We did not stop there. We have set our goals even higher. We see this thing hanging up in the sky every single night. We say, hey, suborbit, that was easy. Let's go a little bit higher, a little bit better. Of course, we've been to the moon before, right? In the first era of lunar exploration, NASA and the Soviet Union went to the moon a number of times with robots, even with people. We had a dozen people walk on the surface of the moon, but we really haven't seen very much of it. This is about the size of each one of those Apollo sites, right? Total, if you add them all up, we've seen a landmass about the size of Manhattan on a moon about the size of Africa. We have just scratched the surface, and yet we're still writing papers that are making it into Science and Nature off the data that we got there. A lot of people all around the world are all wondering, when are we going back? Right? This has been huge news in the US, especially over the last month. People are really wondering about NASA. When is NASA going back? When are the Europeans going back? When is somebody going to go back? When can I go back? That would be especially nice. We here in this building think that private industry has an important part to play in this. Government certainly has an important part to play as well, but private industry has a role in making the answer to that question, when are we going back, something a little more favorable. Let's make it a little sooner, and let's not just go once. The new thing, the new era of lunar exploration, Moon 2.0, if you will, let's make it sustainable. Let's make it repeatable. Let's make it so we go and keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going and go further. Our first prize in this front was called the Northrop Grumman Lunar Lander X Challenge. It's a $2 million prize. We have some of our winners in the house. These guys from Madison Space Systems in Mojave, California, and their competitors from Armadillo Aerospace built and flew vehicles here on Earth that have the kind of performance we're eventually going to need to go from lunar orbit down to the lunar surface. Again, a really big deal. Here, we're in the halls of U.S. Congress. That's a U.S. congressman and the NASA administrator and lots of other people recognizing these guys for their hard work. Really big deal. It took a stagnant area of the industry, breathed a lot of fresh air into it, and allowed us to tap into the minds of really great people like that. But again, we didn't stop there. We said, forget testing things here on Earth. We want to send things to the actual moon. So in September of 2007, we announced the Google Lunar XPRIZE at $30 million. This is the largest international incentive prize ever offered. And international incentive prizes actually have about a 300-year history, so that is maybe more impressive than you might have thought it was. To win, it's pretty easy, right? All you got to do is put a robot on the surface of the moon, have it move around for a half a kilometer, that's a third of a mile for those of you who don't think in metric, and send back HD video. Sounds actually pretty hard. We have 21 teams from all around the world who think that they can do it. This is our most international competition to date, and we're really excited about that. We actually have teams that are working in about 70 different countries. Here you see some quick artist conceptions of what their vehicles look like, and you'll notice we have some things on here, maybe towards the bottom, that look kind of like a NASA rover, or a European rover, or a Russian rover. We have other ideas here that look really, really crazy. We love crazy ideas here. In this building, we love crazy ideas, because it's the crazy ideas that are going to allow us to make the radical breakthroughs, not the 5% improvements that are very important, but the totally massive things. And going to be a really big deal. We've already gotten a couple billion media impressions, and we're not even close to someone winning it yet. We also think this is going to be a really big deal in the classroom. So we are rolling out educational programs. We just announced this one. It's called Moonbots. It's basically a parent-child competition for you to win the Google Lunar X Prize with Legos. I know there is at least one team forming in the room. I've heard there will be others. I hope many of you will consider joining. If you have questions, actually all the staff, this is all of us who work on this prize, we're all here tonight, so come and find us afterwards or check us out on any of those sites online. And man, 5 minutes on the dot.